Good evening, everyone. Good morning, wherever you are. I know we are all in different timelines. In Nairobi, it's 3 p.m. East African time. I know in Southern Africa is about 2 p.m., but I think the same with Sweden. And my colleagues in Geneva, welcome all of you. This is one of the series that we have as ICLD. We have alumni talks so often every year. So that we can be able to link our alumni globally to discuss a number of things. And for those who are probably new to ICLD, although I don't know whether there's anyone who's new to ICLD, it will be great to check about ICLD on our website, icld.se. You get a lot of information about what ICLD does. And even if you are a regular alumni, please, it's always good to continue checking on ICLD website. There are a lot of opportunities that come along, and you could be able to tap on those opportunities. We welcome you to this. We have 1 hour. 1 hour from now, we'll be done by 4 p.m. And next, Kerala. And you can go to the next slide. It's okay. I can't. And the main objective, and most of you probably are aware, but it's always good to remind ourselves, the main objective of ICLD Alumni Talks, one is to facilitate continuous learning. One is that what we mean by facilitate continuous learning is that we want to ensure that every other day there's always new upcoming issues, and we want to share this information and knowledge with the alumni. I also want to say knowledge sharing. Recently, we were in Dar es Salaam with a team from ICLT, Swedish Institute, and also the Swedish Embassy and University of Dar es Salaam, and we were able to share a lot of information with our alumni there. And we look forward to creating these opportunities where we share knowledge with you, including the topic we are about to cover related to flooding or climate action, which is something I think most of us have been able to be affected in one way or the other. And finally, we want to create these constructive dialogues with ourselves. We want to share our experiences and expertise. We believe that most of us as alumni, we know we actually exposed to a lot of information, either at our workplace or as in a community, or some of the programs that we do. And we always want to hear how you did something like this, because we believe that when we learn from you, we will be able to replicate some of the lessons that we learn from each other. We are from, for example, having to hear something from Indonesia, which is pretty similar to some of the challenges that we undergo as East Africans. So these are some of the three, but the basic three that we are going to use, which is the main objective of ICLD Alumni Talks. And as we progress, you're going to learn more about ICLD and also the alumni itself. We are quite fast. We are both in Africa, we are in Asia, and I think we are in South America, if I'm not wrong. And Kerala will tell you a bit about this later on. Next slide. This is the program of the day. We will happen in 1 hour. So my load is pretty fast, just to facilitate and ensure that at least we have a seamless conversation in these panel discussions with a lot of very good team that we have selected. And we apologize that you see there's no lady there. It was not by design. We actually had some of our ladies who are willing to participate, but something came up. However, we will make sure that we give ladies ample opportunity in the plenary so that we can capture and cover that shortcoming. We'll have these remarks, and then I'll give it over to Kerala to welcome us as ICLD. And then we'll have presentations in that order from Yogi, who is based in Indonesia. We also have Elek Matata, who is a planner based in Kiambu County. We have Rogers Kuboyo. I hope you have joined us by the time we get to his part. And then we have Dr. Leonard Desaggio from University of Dar es Salaam, Institute for Development Studies. ICLD and University of Dar es Salaam have a collaborations, and we work very closely with IDS, primarily because we want to bring researchers and practitioners together. As you know, most of local governments and county governments rarely do research. However, as ICLD, we try and link research and practice so that we can be able to learn what are the emerging practices related to either governance, climate change, sustainable development, and a number of issues that affect us as a community or as practitioners. And we hope that you can be able to have 30 minutes of interaction between ourselves We would like to hear from you. We would like to hear from what experiences you are going through in this particular topic on climate adaptation in the wake of floods, especially in the Eastern Africa. I'm sure even South Africa, you have also had the similar challenges. Next, Clara, so that my role will be almost coming to an end. Now, in all virtual meetings, I think it's good to have some basic rules or guidelines. Please keep muted until you have an opportunity to be able to contribute or make comments. And what we have suggested is that we give the presenters the first priority. They make their presentations. Should you have a query, you can be able to write a query or a comment on the chat box. I'm sure they'll be listening, they'll be following, so that if there's anything that you have highlighted, they can be able to follow up or maybe let alone respond to it. Secondly, in case you want to make a comment in the plenary, please raise up your hand. I'll be able, myself and Clara will be able to see and be able to give you an opportunity. And the video is optional to you. If you're on a very good network and you want to put the video on, please feel free to put it. Otherwise, if you're in a low network and you don't feel like you want to have your video on, we are comfortable with that. And when it comes to the plenary, when we give the opportunity to as many people as possible, when you get a chance to contribute or make suggestions, please make it shorter so that the next participant can be able to also have a chance to contribute or make suggestions towards the topic of the day. And with that, I want to give Kerala an opportunity to welcome us. And then after that, we go to the first presenter.
Thank you very much, John. And thank you to everybody who has shown up here today. We're very glad to host you here today in this alumni talk. My name is Clara Stadius. I'm a research officer and alumni coordinator at ICLD. And you are the main people here today. This is not about ICLD, but this is also happening on the initiative of ICLD alumni, because we might host trainings, we fund municipal partnerships, but we are not the change makers. All of you are the change makers, the participants in all of our programs, the civil servants, the politicians, the researchers that we have the honor and the joy to work together with. And that never ends by the time that a program or a training or a research project finalizes. But that's when it really starts from your end and from the alumni end, where the alumni network can work as ambassadors of good local democratic practices to advance human rights, to advance equality, to uplift marginalized groups wherever you are across the world. And we do what we can to facilitate that and to help you in that endeavor. So we are more than grateful for all the initiatives that come from ICLD alumni. And this alumni talk and the series of alumni talks is one out of several opportunities that we can have organized together with alumni. And we can never do this ourselves. So I invite all of you, if you have ideas, if you have thoughts or comments to us, and maybe events that you would like to host or knowledge that you have that you would like to share with other alumni or a wider audience, to contact us. You can always reach me at alumni@icld.se with emails, and you find all the contact details on our website as well. Before I end, I would also like to invite you to join or register for the Alumni Network, which will be the main channel of these kinds of invitations in the future. I will paste the link in the chat afterwards. It's also everywhere on the website on icld.se/alumni, where we update our register so that we have new and updated information about who is it that we have in the network that we can reach out to. Maybe we can connect you with one another, because we noticed here, just like today, where we have researchers from different countries, we have civil servants and local governments from different places that actually have challenges that are very similar, or they have challenges in common despite being in different ends of the world. And we would like to do our best to connect you with one another so we can build on each other's knowledge and expertise. So please make sure to register there afterwards if you haven't done that. This is also if you had already registered in the previous alumni website. We ask you to do it again through this link after this meeting. With those short words, I will hand back to John, and then I think we're going to move to the first speaker. And with that, on behalf of ICLD, I wish you all a really good talk and Be active. Listen actively. Be critical, inquisitive, and curious, and ask all your questions in the chat and afterwards. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Carla. Thank you so much. That's good. It's true, actually, we need to update our databases. So any of you, please, just in case we may not have your updated data, please let us know where you are. There's somebody I was talking to in Uganda. The last was in one municipality. Now they are on another municipality. And it would be good to know the progress you're making. So we can also highlight some of the achievements that you're doing as alumni within the region. And with that, allow me to introduce the first speaker. Dr. Yogi says he's almost becoming a doctor. Yogi Vemana is a PhD researcher affiliated with the Royal Netherlands Institute of Southeast Asia and Caribbean Studies, where he focuses on climate governance in Southern Asia and the Caribbean. His research specifically delves in the political economy of flood management in Indonesian cities. In fact, there's an article ICLD Learning Case. There's an article written by Yogi, written Drainage Politics, featuring a town in Indonesia called Surabaya, and I think he's going to share more about this. And allow me to give the opportunity to Mr. Yogi. Now, Yogi, this is your time. If you're ready, please continue and welcome.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, John. Thank you, colleague from East African countries. And also thank you, Clara, and other colleague from ICLD, Emma, and I see Robin also there, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, thank you for the invitation. So right now I want to share with you all about it's kind of one of the cities that I research for my PhD. So basically, my research is about to investigating what is political factors and under what situation that these political factors influence the success and failure of flood management. So I compare 4 cities in Indonesia, and one of cities that I compare is Surabaya, because I compare these 4 cities that suffer a long history of flood cases in the last maybe 50 years. But then in the last 10 or 15 years, these 4 cities showcasing a different trend of floods. So like Surabaya, although suffers a long history of floods, but in the last 10 years, this city showcasing a decreasing trend of flood cases. So my research is compared to find out what is the political factors that make the flood management in the city is successful. So like this picture, I'm following the street level bureaucrats or public officer that responsible for floods in everyday life. And then I follow how they operate, how they work, how their perception to the floods. So I will share more details in the next slide. So this is just only give you all the context of why floods become very crucial in Indonesia, because in the last maybe 10 years, as you can see from this figure, floods that point out with the blue color remain stable as one of the highest disasters that threat the Indonesian archipelago. So yeah, there is a landslide, hurricane, drought, earthquake, and a forest fire, but floods still remain stable as one of the specter that haunted every cities, every places in Indonesia. And also because floods make risk because floods impact many people, and also until today it's very difficult to be managed completely. this is just only would like to give the illustration where is Indonesia and Surabaya, and thank you for from the ICLD. I taken this from the ICLD slide. As you can see, this is the Indonesia, and it's between the Australia and continent Asia, and this is Surabaya in the Java Island. So why floods become very prominent in these regions? Because as you can see, this archipelago is heavily influenced by the tropical climate that coming from the Pacific, and due to the green gas emission and the global warming, now this the weather regime in this island is disrupted. So now Indonesia suffered a long period of dry season, but a shorter period of rainfall season. So the rainfall season that usually taking place at least 6 months, but now maybe just only 3 or 4 months, and the rainfall pattern could be very high. It's very intense because the rainfall the rainy season, it's very shorter than years before. And as you can see, this is the 4 places that I did my as a my field case. This is Surabaya. So this is just only I just would like to give you illustration how the Surabaya successful to manage the floods. It's because not because there is no floods, but as you can see, many areas in Surabaya are risk areas of floods with the red and yellow trend colors here. But then this flood risk cannot be they relatively successful to manage this flood risk cannot be as disasters. So I think this is just to give you illustration. This Surabaya successful to relatively success to manage the flood is not because there is no flood risk. The flood risk is there, and they can manage this. And this is one of the point that I scrutinize in my PhD. It's about the flood defense in infrastructure. Because my field site mostly located in the urban areas, so mostly the flood defense relies on the assemblage of the public and private drainage system. So this kind of canal, it's kind of a collaboration between the public, the government, but also from the private actors like real estate, companies and so on and so forth. Because in the Indonesian law, the authority on drainage management lies on the hands of local governments. So the local governments have authority to enforce the law. The law, it's like when kind of real estate property companies would like to build their project, they should provide like proper retention pond, proper canal like this, and so on and so forth. So the government have authority to enforce this law to every real estate companies that would like to build this kind of project to make housing complex, to make real house compounds and so on and so forth. So I just would like to give you a description. So in the right side, it's kind of setting that mostly happens in many cities, not only in Surabaya. So mostly the real estate companies, they build like this luxurious compounds that relatively flood-proof because they built it on the higher ground. But then the next beside them locate urban people, kampung people, or ordinary people that locate in the more vulnerable place because they not afford to buy this kind of place. So floods can be happens when this kind of real estate property did not build proper drainage uh, that can dispose water to the sea. But many cases that happens that when the real estate companies did not build a proper drainage system like a retention pole or then on canal, so this disposal water would submerge would flooded people that live outside of the compound. Okay, so that's why the job of the Surabaya Flooding Task Force to make sure that this kind of situation will not be happens. So they will go to the real estate companies, they will go to the field to make sure that every property compounds build a proper retention ponds, proper canal. So this property compounds will not give harm to ordinary people or to the or poor people who live outside of the compounds. So I will just only give you like this illustration. So I followed one of the officer in the field, and we inspected one of the compounds that breach that violate the law. Nah, as you can see, based on the law, if they should build a proper retention pond, different like this. But then when this Surabaya Flooding Task Force received report from the public that this property compounds did not build a proper retention pond, and then we came to this field, and then we met with the owners, we met with the managers, and we enforce and they enforce the law. They ask them to build a more proper retention pond. And this situation is like it's mostly happens like this. So the flooding task force job is try to make sure that every companies follow the law, and public will report every companies that violate the law. So the question is why the government very committed to enforce the law. So it's actually back to in the 2011 when this woman elected as a mayor. And when she was elected as a mayor in 2010, and then 1 year later, the parliament would like to topple her because many politicians thought that she could be bring dangers to their interests, because one of this mayorisma policy try to get rid of lucrative or collusion or corruption that intertwine with the public affair business, like previously flood management project is very thick with corruption, and then Risma would like to get rid of it. And many politicians and business elite thought that it could be very harmful for them, and that's why they lobby to the politician in local parliament to topple her. But then she came to one of the most influential commercial media in the city. It's a Suara Surabaya, or the Voice of Surabaya, and she made a political contract. So she being honest that she would like to still in power, but she needs a political support because she will be toppled. And then these media companies offer a political contract that yes, as a media, we can spin a public support for you, but okay, let's discuss about the contract, what you can give to us. And then Risma commit to make a public compliance system that responsive, and then this kind of report from Suara Surabaya can goes directly into her office, and she directly will monitor and oversee every response. So that's why in the commercial media, they develop this kind of tools, and then every citizen can install in their cell phone that they can upload every video or photo to oversee every public affairs that was undertaken by the local government, and including how they respond to the floods. So when when the citizens seeing when the rainfall happens, and then seeing some floods, potential as floods can be happens, and then they will send directly to the picture or the videos through this app, and then this materials will go directly to the emergency response in the local government, and then Risma herself can monitor the response from her staff. So this is this is like a consequence of the political contract that Risma would like to do, because this is not because she is bad or good person, but this is a consequence of the political play that happens in that city, because Risma still wants to in power as a mayor, but then she needs political support, and then Suara Surabaya can provide this support, but then the implication could be beneficial for many people. So I just only would like to conclude with this message, because like happened in many Indonesian cities when the floods happen, many local government mayor they just only blame to the rainfall, or just only directly blame to the climate change, but never people would like to scrutinize the connection with the policy failure. So this project would like to critics that not every flood that happens it's because of the natural cause, but also it is also connected with the policy. And I would like to argue that from my project that the local political dynamics have considerable impact of the outcome of the flood management, because the collusion sometimes between politics and business worsen spatial planning, undermines bureaucratic intervention in infrastructure works, and also, but I find like happens in Surabaya, cities that are successful in curbing such this business politic collusion are better equipped to handle floods. So I mean that in many cases, in other cities that less successful, they the collusion between the property conglomerates, these property companies, and then to the bureaucrats, to the politician, is mostly happens, and there is no strong civil society to curtail this relation, so it might harm to the flood management. So I would like to just emphasize that from this Surabaya, we can see that a strong civil society activism plays an important role to strengthen local governance, and also to limit business politic collusion to be more to achieve more positive outcomes in floods management. So I think I would like to stop here, and I'm looking forward to our discussion. Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much, Yogi. That's quite informative. And for those who want to read more, there's a link that has been shared on the chat by ICLD. So please feel free to have a look at it. And thank you so much, Yogi, for sharing some of the areas that actually affect us even in Africa, both in the East and Southern, dealing with participation and the areas of anti-corruption when you're dealing with disasters like climate change and other things. Those are some of the serious concerns that actually affects us in many ways. But I'm sure my colleagues who are politicians or who are working in the local government directly will be able to share with us the similarities of handling this kind of issues in their locality. So please continue putting their comments on the chat. I'm sure my colleagues from ICLD and also the presenters are going through so that they can be able to respond to any of the concerns or that you may be raising. Our next speaker is Prana, is a regional and urban planner, Eric Matata. Eric Matata works for Kiambu County. Kiambu County is not very far from where I am seated right now. Eric is an ICLD alumni. He participated in the leadership in local governance, ITP, where I was the mentor. He has also been lucky to participate in one of the programs under the ICLD alumni with the University of Lucio. The topic was the cities of values, which I also participated, and we are looking at how cities can use the values to be able to navigate through some of the challenges that undergo in their development issues. So Eric has been instrumental. He's being a physical planner and also a urban planner. He has been instrumental in working with the county governments in managing not only floods but other disasters in the urban area. Eric Matata, if you're ready, the floor is all yours.
If I can interject and just ask all the speakers to stick within 5 minutes so we have time for discussion, and then you can elaborate more in discussion. Thank you. Eric.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you, Madam Clara. Thank you, Mr. John. I take this opportunity to appreciate this moment to share ideas or whatever we have done in regards to adaptation of the various initiatives that we have done in the Kiambu County. This is in East Africa and in Kenya. So I'll rush very fast because of time. You realize that our county, we are the third most urbanized county in Kenya, from the Nairobi capital, then Mombasa city, then our county is the third most urbanized. So you can imagine the challenges that we are experiencing due to urbanization. People are flocking to our place due to the proximity of our area to Nairobi. So this is the bedroom for the residents of Nairobi. This is the bedroom where most of the people, about 70% of them live in our county. So you can imagine the mess that we are getting in terms of urbanization and construction. And so we are about 2,500 square kilometers, the area of the county, of the Kiambu County. And therefore, just straight to my presentation. As you can see from the picture, there is a small picture on the right showing the recent floods. Just a month ago, we really were hit hard by the rainfall that was hovering across East Africa. So I would like us to proceed to the next slide. So I wanted to show us the effects of the recent floods in our county. From the farthest end, that is our major road connecting the city, the Nairobi city, to the central region of Kenya, where all our food, most of the food in the capital city come from this region. So you can imagine the havoc. About 2 or 3, 4 days with no transport at all. There was no transportation of farm produce from central Kenya to the city. So you can imagine even the negative impacts, the scarcity of food and the like. So it was quite a challenge. The middle photo, you can see school kids were unable to access learning due to the floods. This is the second photo shows just a small portion of a flooded school where students could not access learning facilities. On the third photo is destruction of flora, that is a flora and fauna, that is destruction of plants. This really, as I have said, our county, we really rely on agriculture. So you can imagine most of the horticulture and farm produce were really destroyed, automatically destroyed by the floods. You can move to the next slide, please. Again, as a continuation of the photos, on the left hand side, you can see a railway line that has been actually terminated due to the floods. It was more of like a landslide. So the transportation of merchandise, maybe from the port of Mombasa to Uganda and the other countries, was terminally affected. So these are effects of floods. On the middle photo, that is flash floods, whereby we lost about close to 100 lives that were lost. People were sleeping at night, and there was a dam that due to floods, due to intense rainfall, it burst its bank, and people were just caught unawares at night, and about 100 lives were lost. And then on the right-hand side, we can see even it's not very clear, but this is a rescue mission headed by His Excellency, our governor, whereby in one of our municipality, the perimeter wall at night literally fell, and it was a calamity. It was hazardous. We lost about 5 lives. People were sleeping. You can imagine you are sleeping on your bed, and then all of a sudden, walls falling on you, and then you are dead just because of floods. So these are the negative impacts that floods can really affect our urban areas. So we can move to the next slide, please. Continuation on the left-hand side, that is raw sewer. You can imagine this is contamination of raw sewer. And you know, when you have raw sewer in our vicinity, the adverse effects, that is waterborne diseases, bilharzia, malaria, and so many other diseases, because this is a residential area. This is a comprehensive development area where people are just in their place, and all of a sudden you just meet sewer, raw sewer on your place. And this is hazardous, very hazardous. On the right-hand side also, floods also, that is a collapse of a perimeter wall and another parking. People had parked their vehicles at night so well, went to their home, but in the next morning, their property, their cars and everything is damaged. And really, this is highly hazardous. We can move to the next slide, please. So I'll want to share with us some of the floods mitigation measures that we as a county were able to, in the past 1 month or 2 months, were able maybe to, as a mitigation measure, what did we do maybe during this moment? So as a local authority, as a municipality, we were able to implement a detailed plan whereby we had our heavy machineries, that is the backhoes, excavators, and tippers, were able to ensure that they go and open up the clogged drainage systems. You realize that in our place, most of these hazards were as a result of the human being behavior. We throw waste, solid waste everywhere we wish. You realize that people throw plastic papers, waste products, we throw them just at the next door vicinity. And this has an impact in clogging our drainages. So once we have heavy downpour, then our drains are full and we are in a mess. So we had to send our backhoes and excavators and trees to try and salvage and open up the drains. Also, the local authority, this is the Thika municipality, as an emergency measure, we were able to hire about additional 1,200 people on the Roads and Environment Department to assist in the unblocking of the drainages, because we realized that the clogging of our drainages really affected us, and this was the major cause of the floods in our areas, including the informal settlements. We also had support in terms of mechanism and donation, because through His Excellency, the governor, and also the municipal manager, we were able to support the affected families and take them to the rescue places, because you realize some of the places were literally uninhabitable. So we had to pick these people to take them to safe havens in the churches, in the chief places and the like. And on that also, we had an allocation of financial resources. We were able through the county assembly to approximately set aside about 234,000 USD allocated for specific to address the issues of flooding, emergency, and the like. And also at this juncture, I would also like to tell the people that as an urban planning initiative, we started an initiative of screening our projects, the project screening, whereby before getting a project, maybe a road project or maybe getting the preparation of the non-motorized transport, before going to the actual projects, we started an initiative for first screening the projects and carrying out the environmental social impact assessment to see if there are areas of possible floods and having mitigation areas in the environmental and social management plans. So maybe we can also proceed. So in that, before getting a project, before the project is done, we're supposed to go and identify if these areas have an deliberate water outfall, because we realize that we have very good roads, we have good NMCs and good stormwater drainages, but they don't have a particular outfall where this water is going, because the water is supposed to run freely to the dispatch areas. And so if an area does not have an outfall, one, as a municipality and the planning team, we have either to compulsory acquire or acquire in kind. Acquire in kind is whereby you tell people, give them enforcement notices, maybe to evade or move outside places of flood-prone areas. So in this other initiative, you can see on the left-hand side, you see His Excellency the Governor started an initiative whereby we have a monthly cleanup exercise. And this was mainly focused on unclogging the drainage system in the urban areas, because we realized that once the rains caught you unawares and then the stormwater drains are not clear, then you are inevitably going to experience floods. And also through that, we came up also with something called the climate risk profiling of all flood-prone areas across the county. Initially, before, we could just wait until the mess is here, but we said, no, going forward, we shall not be waiting for calamities to happen until now we start reacting. So we have started profiling all the climate risk flooding area. And then we have also prepared stormwater master plan for all the municipality. So this is an initiative that we started immediately that we realized that, our stormwater system is not well adhered to into the planning framework. So we started the preparation of the stormwater master plans. And also on the other side, as the planning department, we have started a serious enforcement of integrated strategic urban plans in the county. We started something called RRI, that is the Rapid Result Initiatives, whereby we have been camping on the municipality, the various areas, because most people accidentally or intentionally have built up in the riparian areas. And here we have to enforce the law. So we are using the Integrated Strategic Urban Development Plan to enforce issues of enforcement. Those people who have employed, you realize, you find somebody has constructed on the riparian reserve. And the law is very clear, 6 meters or 30 meters over and above the highest water marks, nobody's supposed to be there. So we have started that, and in the next slide, please. This is what we have done. This is a clearance of a riparian way-live. We realized that this is somebody who had not even approval, and he had started construction of a seven-story building on the riparian reserve. So if we allow such people to continue with such behaviors, then floods will never get out of our areas. So this is one of the initiatives, because you can see this is a clearance of a waterway. This is somebody who had no approval, somebody who has blocked the waterways, somebody who has who will be causing people to lose their lives, lose their property, maybe in future and the like. So these are some of the initiatives that we have managed to do as the Department of Planning under the Kiambu County government. So with that view, I want to thank you and appreciate you so much. Thank you so much, John.
Yeah, thank you, Alec. That was very clear, and thank you for sharing what you've done as a county. That is very good. I'm sure participants will be able to share any questions or comments as we progress. Welcome back, Clara. The next speaker is from Jinja, Uganda. Lojas Kuboyo, I see you are here. Karibu sana. Lojas is also an ICLD alumni. He recently participated in one of the programs called Human Rights, Gender Equality, and Climate Displacement, together with my colleagues from Sierra Leone. And if you're ready, here we go. Over to you, Mr. Lojas.
Thank you, John, and members. The profile has been given. I will go straight away because its time is very small. The role of local governments in managing climate disaster, a case of Ginger, another slide. Now, as he goes to another slide, Ginger is within two major bodies. Another slide, John. Lake Victoria on the west and river on the south, and River Nile on the west. These are two major big water bodies, meaning that we have become an industrious town because we are drawing hydroelectric power from the River Nile. What has this done? There has been continuous emissions since we became an industrial town, and this has contributed to what we see as ozone getting depleted. So that blanket burning down, we are contributing to the worldwide global warming and so climate change. Another slide, John. Another slide, it's not moving. Okay. Possibly.
Can you see it, people?
The slides are not moving.
And now?
Now we can, let me, okay. Now, we have experienced high-level torrential rains in the months of March and April, and about 6,000 people have been affected within the entire city, right from Masese to the shore, to the source of the Nile, where the river starts. Actually, businesses have closed. We have had big businesses like Roma's, who is a Kenyan investor. He closed because floods had to chase such businesses away. Masese landing site is a very big market, housing over 1,500 vendors. That one has been almost washed away. The islands have submerged. An island near the source of the Nile where the water oozes, it has been submerged and is now out of reach. So these frequent and severe rains have caused high-level heat, droughts, and storms. Climate change, as a result of this heat, has changed the rainfall patterns. It has also changed production within Ginger. Ginger is an urban area where part of it is rural, farming is done, and then part of it is completely urban. So the weather change patterns has affected production in such areas. What has Ginger as a local government done? The role of our city. Ginger has done periodical audits in regard with the compliance to the NEMA regulations. NEMA is a National Environment Management Authority, specifically on the air quality, to see that we reduce on the emissions in the air, so that way we put back the reconstruction of the ozone, if possible, anyway. We also interface with our factories and manufacturers directly to tell them on the best production and manufacturing practices as recommended. So we are also doing the climate policy and advocacy through, one, implementing the national policies on climate change, through sending our people in our wetlands, from our wetlands. For those who may be viewing the global news, Uganda is on is busy breaking down all illegal constructions within the wetlands. And for the case for this is Rubiji. Houses are being broken down to ensure that we reinstate our wetlands to the original state before we started experiencing floods and climate change. We are also, as a town, putting resilience infrastructures. We are constructing a drainage channel, which is quite big to accommodate the open water storm into the drain to the lake as a town. We are also emphasizing good physical planning. We have a PDP passed in 2020 for 10 years. It was passed last year, slightly last year, as a city, and we are ensuring that every development conforms with the physical planning requirements and the spatial planning. You don't put a structure where it's not meant to be put. We're also doing a lot of afforestation so that we reinstate the forestry cover back to where it was. We are also undertaking sustainable transportation through promoting the non-motorized transport. You are aware that motor vehicles in Uganda, most of them use petroleum. So as a city, we are promoting usage of bicycles as a transport and a program called COP Uganda. Majorly, it's a project funded by the Netherlands, so that we encourage people to use bicycles that don't emit those gases that cause the ozone to do what? To have issues. Now the picture you are seeing is that one is a Masese landing site, one of our landing sites that has been flooded and business has come to a standstill. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Oh, thank you, Rogers. Thank you so much. I've been to Ginger, at least I am familiar with this particular area. And I know we'll come back to that conversation later. Allow me to introduce Leonard Desajo. Leonard Desajo is a lecturer at the University of Dar es Salaam Institute for Development Studies. And he's not new to ICLD. We were with him recently in April with another ICLD, what we are calling Democracy Labs. And he gave us a talk on climate change. He's a conversant with this particular area. Without further ado, allow me to welcome Leonard Desajo. Leonard, this is your time. Karibu sana.
Thank you, John, and thank you everybody at ICLD for having me in this forum. I will talk a bit about the experiences from Dar es Salaam in regards to climate-driven urban flooding. Can we go to the next slide? Yeah, Dar es Salaam city is the commercial headquarters of the country, and the region is actually the most populous, but I think one of the smallest regions in the country. We are along the Indian Ocean, along the Indian Ocean coast, and Dar es Salaam is actually the center of manufacturing and business in the country. So yeah, that's briefly what is all about the city. But most importantly, Dar es Salaam is actually the drainage of Dar es Salaam is served by four rivers: Mpiji, Msimbazi, and Kizinga, and Mzinga. And I think this is important for us to note as we go along. Can you go to the next slide? Yeah, in terms of flood vulnerability, I'm thinking of it in terms of who are the vulnerable and where. Sorry for the spelling. Where are the vulnerable? In terms of who, I think it's both urban poor, most importantly, but also a sub-segment of the urban rich are vulnerable in terms of climate change. The urban poor are mostly affected due to their living in marginal lands and informal settlements, but the urban poor are actually vulnerable because some of them have actually built their residences in formerly swampy areas or urban wetlands. So these are actually facing a lot of risks risks in terms of flooding, especially during rain season. The central business district is also one of the most vulnerable areas in the city, as those pictures can actually give you a bit of a hint of what is going on in terms of flooding vulnerability. Can we go to the next slide? Yeah, in terms of impacts, I think we are sharing more or less the same experience as other East African cities and major towns in terms of loss of lives, especially during the past flooding events. In Dar es Salaam, we lost at least 80 people, but there were also infrastructure destruction. Roads were cut off, bridges were washed away, property loss. Countrywide, up to 10,000 houses were actually washed away. And the World Bank has actually estimated the loss to amount up to $200 million. Next slide, please. Yeah, in terms of what we are doing in Tanzania and specifically as the city of Dar es Salaam, there has actually been one major project called Dar es Salaam Metropolitan Development Project, and two of the most important the main objectives were to build the city's climate change adaptation and resilience capacity, but also to promote climate risk and disasters response mechanisms. But this project has actually ended in last year. It was funded by the World Bank. But currently, another project is underway. It's called Msimbazi Basin Development Project. Msimbazi is the name of the river which actually cuts across the city of Dar es Salaam. And it's actually one of the areas, where a lot of instances of floods are actually happening. Most of the people who are living along the rivers are the ones who are highly impacted by flooding events in the city. So this project is mainly aiming at strengthening flooding resilience among these city dwellers, but also to try and integrate this area, the Msimbazi Valley, to the city urban development. Next slide, please. So what does the future look like in terms of our experience and what probably I see as an expert in the field? These are some of the things that I would wish to see happening in the future. One is to have modern early warning systems in place in terms of technological advancements and in terms of effective mass media campaigns in terms of informing people when disasters are looming, efficient disaster preparedness and response mechanisms. We are still lagging behind in terms of this aspect. I'm thinking of something like municipal disaster rapid response units, massive low-cost housing. This is another potential scenario where we have government-funded or government-subsidized massive housing where the current vulnerable population will be relocated to. But also another potential scenario is enabling these people to live with or in flooding. That can be done. We have seen other cities, especially in Southeast Asia, doing something like this. Another plausible scenario is to relocate the current disaster management department from the Prime Minister's office to the President's office, regional authorities and local government. This is important because the PORALG is actually the ministry in charge of local governance or local government agencies in this country. So having the department responsible for disaster responses in that ministry is more important than we currently are experiencing, where it is based in the Prime Minister's office. But most importantly and lastly is finance. Finance is still the major challenge. Thank you so much. I'll look forward to questions, if any.
Oh, thank you so much, Leonard from University of Dar es Salaam. Thank you so much for sharing that data. I have seen the Honorable Monkey Sekete from Botswana saying that she's never experienced the month that we are sharing. Perhaps you'd share that later on if she's from Botswana. And now it's open to conversations. I'm sure you have some comments. I've seen a lot you have put in the chat, which is very nice. And please remember there are some links that have been shared. So feel free to pick some of the comments, some of the links that have been shared by ICLD so that you can be able to either ask a question or also later on probably have a look. Clara, you wanted to say something before we go to the...
I think I can just note or say thank you to all the speakers. This is really, really informative, and it really does reinforce the notion that local democracy is crucial for climate adaptation in an equitable way. Even if the local level and individual municipalities is not where enough emissions happen to cause the effects of climate change, local democratic practices, anti-corruption measures, proper placement of protective measures, that is really something that can make a huge difference. So thank you all for illustrating that and exemplifying that in different ways.
Okay, thank you. Now this is open. Any questions or comments? Please raise up your hands in the chat and I'll be able to pick up so that you can share with us. And please be brief. When the time comes, please be brief so that we can be able to work on time. Who is first? Immaculate, are you there? Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes, John, I am actually here. I was following the conversation. Can you hear me, John?
Yes, we can hear you, Immaculate.
Great. The presentation have been very, very great, though I found the first presentation halfway because we had a plenary session going on, so I had to attend the chambers for a while. So I found the third and the second and the last one, and they're very informative. And as I told you earlier, maybe I'll just say a few things on issues of floods. And I know we don't know each other a lot, so my name is Immaculate Persena. I work in Kajiado County Assembly, one of the local governments in Kenya. I'm also an alumni of ICLD, and I love the conversations that go around here. It makes us learn a lot. So in the recent past, of course, in the recent few months, we've had a lot of issues with floods in East Africa, and most specifically in my county. We were really troubled with the floods. Actually, some people were transportation was cut short. Some children could not go to school. It was a very, very, very huge disaster for us. And one of the lessons we took home as a county government is that we need proper planning. I think there's an area, if we were able to allocate funds and just put a very serious dam, we will be able to have a lot of water to use during the drought seasons. Because most of the times in our county, we have flooding at a certain season, then a certain season there'll be drought. So one of the things that those floods are shaping as part of the issues in climate is that it's changing our planning on how to plan to make good use of the rains when they're here, and make good use of the water when the rains go away. And one of the things I was speaking from the Kiambu presentation, and I think the Dar es Salaam presentation, is that the demographics is a bit the same in these local governments. And one of the things that we were looking at is that, and the other thing I picked from the first presenter, I forgot his name. I think he is not African, but I'll be able to know his name. What is his name, by the way? I looked at his. Yes, because I work in a county assembly, and I heard him say things like policies and politicians in issues of climate issues. And I must admit that from where I sit, these issues of climate change, the politics of climate change, there's a lot of politics in climate change. Apart from the issues of the ozone layer and the issues of we need to plant trees, we need to take care of the environment, there are a lot of politics with climate change. And even international organizations are shaping the way we look at climate change as even third world countries. There are a lot of donations on the narratives of climate change. So one of the things that we look at is if we're able to put our policies together and our planning properly, then we'll be able to mitigate the issues of floodings and climate change. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Allow me to stop there. I see Shalom, Augustine. Please make it brief, Augustine, 1 minute. Augustine Shalom, we have a minute. Okay. Monkey Sekete, Monkey, maybe we go to you, Monkey, then Augustine will come back. Monkey, then we come to Los. Honorable Monkey from Botswana, Gaborone. Wow.
I think my speaker was muted.
Okay.
Thank you very much, John. I have seen that there is this word that finance. So my question was, these three people who have presented have the problem with corruption within the municipalities, because in most cases funds are being given out, and then the person who is on office somehow opts not to do what he was supposed to do with the funds that were being allocated for the cause. So I'm asking if the three presenters in their respective countries have issues of corruption. And another one is, what actions do they take against people who normally build their houses along the waterway, along the water? Do they have anything in plan for such people?
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, thank you so much. Honorable Monkey Sekete is a councillor in Gaborone. Let's go to Lusa Magano. You'll get your response later. Lusa Magano.
Okay. Good afternoon, colleagues.
Good afternoon.
This is Rosa Magano France, is a councillor in Oshakati Town Council in Namibia, specifically in Oshana region. I'm an Aramaina from the Women Political Leadership of the 2022. Yes, when we are talking about climate change, I'm learning a lot because my town specifically is also suffering from flooding. I know most of the people, they understand that in 2008, Oshakati was under water everywhere. Even though in 2011, we were rescued with a master plan, which put the town in a dike just to cover the water to come inside the town. Yes, I understand that the finance is sorry?
No, sorry, continue. I think there's someone.
Okay. The finance is a challenging issue because like now in Oshakati, we are still not finishing with our master plan because of finance. And this is due to higher corruption and so forth. So it's really good to participate in this program because I learn a lot of different skills and way of combating the flooding in our town. Till now, I don't know if in our town council we have a climate change policy, but I might go and introduce one of the climate change policy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, so thank you too much. Okay, the last one is Augustine, and then you can have a response. Augustine, make it very brief if you're still there.
Thank you, John. I was following, and I have been following the issue of floods and the menace it has been meting on us. Mine is an observation, having been a civil servant for some time. We are suffering from some issue that affects professional. Everybody is talking about corruption. Professionals tend to lose sight when there is money. So when money is available, rules can be set aside. I also want to mention something I've also observed that was mentioned by one of the presenters. What they refer to as the riparian land, especially here in Kenya. Our professionals try to lose focus when they are trying to come up with these policies, because you cannot define a riparian land based on number of meters. I would have thought the riparian land would extend as far as where the level of land is at the same level with the river. That is what caused most of the flooding in our cities during the last floods, because you realize once the water is full on the river stream, it runs almost about 10 kilometers to each side. These were originally wetlands. These were areas that no construction were allowed in the previous times, but currently everybody wants to have a construction within the city, and our planners are giving leeway to this to happen. Otherwise, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Because of time, let me allow Clara the last comment because of I think we have a lot of issues you have made in the chat, and Clara, I think you are following. Maybe you can highlight 2 or 3, and then we can be able to call this a day. As you can see, it's one of the vibrant issues. I think we'll be having more longer ones or many more of these so that we can be able to capture all the concerns raised. Clara, over to you.
Thank you. Yes, I've been following the chat, and I just wanted to specifically highlight some comments by Faith Mwende, who commented on the need for gender disaggregated data and to see the effects of climate change from a gender lens as well, to see how flood affect children in a different way than it affects adults, and to see how women and men are affected differently. We have mentioned briefly the access to schools in one of the municipalities here, and to see those effects of floods and of climate change is one of the crucial points in having a democratic and equitable response to climate change. So thank you, Faith, for bringing that point up. I think we can hear one last round from the presenters maybe, and then to give a brief response. Then we have to finish up.
Presenters, and make it very brief so that we don't overlap this time. Presenters can share some responses if there's a question directly that's shared with you. And there was an issue of how do you deal with the people who develop in the riparian areas. Any response?
Yes, now Uganda, what Uganda is doing, for those who are following the current affairs, including today, they have taken a ruthless approach to restating wetlands to avoid the flooding. They are breaking down buildings, all construction is within the wetlands. They have started with Kampala, and the operation is going to roll over. They gave notes almost 4 or 5 years ago, including the head of state, the president, and that is what it is done. So they have asked politely people to leave before, people have refused, and now they have taken on that very ruthless approach. Sure, even some people have died. Now my question is on somebody saying there is a lot of politics on ozone and what. To me, I think we need to restate. How do we deal with the issue of submerging islands because of increasing waters? I think the solution is regreening, planting vegetation, planting a tree, so that we reconstruct the ozone if possible. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Leonard. I can see your list you had, Leonard.
Yeah, I'll quickly speak to the 2 questions from the Honorable in Gaborone. With regards to corruption, well, generally speaking, corruption is actually one of the challenges that we're still grappling with in this region of the world. So initiatives that are focusing on climate change cannot necessarily be excluded from that. So it's still a challenge that we are grappling with. But I don't have any specific cases in terms of corrupt deeds in these projects, especially the ones that I've cited. 2, in terms of what is done to people who are living in marginal lands, well, governments actually have this reactive kind of approach where they regularly actually evict people from these areas. But in my opinion, I think this is a wrong approach, because no one is actually happy to live in these areas. Actually, these are economically vulnerable people, and they go to these places because of their economic vulnerability. These are the places where they can get a plot at a cheaper price and build their houses. So if we want to address this problem, chasing these people is not a lasting solution, but rather creating economic opportunities, building wealth, and make sure that people's economies actually improve so that they can be able to afford and live in safe areas. I think that is all I have for now. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Yogi, you have a quick comment, another very quick comment.
Yeah, I think if many colleagues are aware that corruption happens within the flood management or climate adaptation, it's already good. I think it's already a huge improvement because previously we in this kind of discussion whether in floods management mostly they coming from technicalities. It's kind of the urban planning or the infrastructure, drainage, and so on and so forth. But it's quite rare to connect it with the corruption, with the democracy, with the civil society power, and so on and so forth. So I think it's very important to amplify this kind of argumentation toward many discussion that every one of you will involve, that to be aware, to always share that the climate adaptation or especially floods management is also because this is kind of this kind of intervention, it's not located in the social vacuum, right? But it's also influenced by many predatory interests that coming from many political and economic actors. Like my case, it's coming from the real estate property companies and so on and so forth. So I think if we already discuss about the corruption, connect with the flood management, I think it's a huge thing. Thank you.
Okay, Alec, and it's a closing remark. Alec.
Thank you, John. A quick one. Planning and politics is inseparable. For the period of time I've served as a planner in the municipalities, and people have been smart on maneuvering in the legal procedures. So we go to the ground, you have diverted, you have constructed the riparian, we issue an enforcement notice. So here in Kenya, people are smart. So you go to the court, immediately you get a court injunction. So once an item is on the court, you can't do anything. So in that procedure and in that process, there is an indirect corruption. Some people corrupt even the judges and the magistrate. So with that, we are unable to fully enforce. And then two, and lastly, misappropriation of funds. Maybe in our county assembly, you realize this is money meant for that, for flooding, for calamities and the like. But because this is not a priority, money is diverted into other uses. And so that is a challenge. These are some of the challenges that we are experiencing in the local authority. Thank you, John and team.
Thank you so much. As you can see, this gets quite vibrant towards the end. I wish we had more time, but allow us not to proceed beyond here. We have already done a couple of minutes extra, but I think that was necessary. Perhaps next time we'll be able to allocate a little more time so that we can be able to discuss and share a lot of expertises and experiences in this area, for example, of climate change, which I can see is quite interesting to most of us. I think all of us have to admit they suffer from one climate crisis at their lifetime, whether you're a child, whether you're vulnerable, whether a elected leader or a professional. Allow me, before I give Clara the final word, allow me to thank all of you, all the alumni who are able to come. Thank you so much for even taking time to proceed or to go beyond the allocated time. We really thank you for that. We also thank the presenters. Thank you for your valuable information and your expertise. And I'm sure we'll be getting back to you should we have a concern or a comment or something we need to clarify. We will be coming back to you. And for all the alumni, should you have something else that was not answered, please feel free to reach out to us. We'll be able to give you a response as soon as we're able to get it. With that, allow me to ask Clara to say the final comment, and we'll be able to share with you some of the links that have been shared. Thank you also for those who have made comments here. We have seen Rose Delito, seen Faith Mande, and all the people who have made their comments within the chat. Thank you so much. It's through that we are able to even, trigger our minds to think a little more of that. Thank you so much, all of you. And to close us, Krala, finally, just for the final comment.
Thank you. I can only echo John. I won't take more time because everything that I wanted to convey to you has been said already. So thank you for me as well. And please do reach out to us, but also do reach out to each other or ask us for contact details to each other, because we are not the teachers here. You have so much to teach each other and to learn from each other. And then enjoy the rest of your day and have a great weekend ahead. And we'll see you in many other occasions, I hope. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, John.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.